2.9 billion people. That's the number of people that watched the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, with 1.5 billion of those watching the final. If we compare this to the 132 million that watched the Super Bowl, the 25 million that watched the NBA, it's clear that the World Cup is by far the most watched sporting event in history. But why is this? Well, with the 2026 World Cup going underway now, I've had a lot of time to think about that. This year, I'm not sure if it's just me, but it feels like a lot more people are interested in the World Cup than ever have been before. I think part of that might be that the US is hosting this time and they're continuing to actually do well in the World Cup. They haven't been eliminated yet as of recording. But even if we just think about the past World Cups, why is it that so many people around the world all seem to watch the game? It seems to captivate people in a way that other sports do, but not nearly to the scale that soccer does or football. And I've realized that there are a few different reasons for this. Anyone around the world, no matter who they are or where they are, as long as they have a ball, can play it. I think one of the biggest reasons is even if you don't follow the sport, know any of the players or any of the history, you still have a general idea of who the teams are because they are countries rather than just random teams. If you never played baseball, then not knowing who the Dodgers are makes it hard to care. Or followed basketball, the same thing applies with the Lakers. But no matter who you are, even if you've never followed the sport before, you still know countries, and you're able to follow along with your favorite country, or root against the ones that you don't like. Which also leads into one of my favorite things about the World Cup, the underdogs. In no other sport are you going to have a team of only 156,000 people not only playing against, but actually scoring on a country of 83 million people. That's exactly what happened this year when Curacao managed to tie it up against Germany 1-1. Now, of course, they went on to lose 7-1, but for that brief moment when it was tied 1-1, it was absolutely magical. And of course, other sports have moments just like this, but there's something special about it being an entire country being able to be represented on the field. It's also an extremely long running history, given that the World Cup started almost 100 years ago at this point and has been played for much longer before that. You're able to look back and see all of the great players throughout history that not only define a single country, but are actually worldwide known. Everyone that is enjoying the sport knows them, whether they're from the Western Hemisphere, they're from Europe, they're from Africa, they're from Asia. Everyone seems to know these players and watches the next generation continue to move on. I think another reason is the easy to understand rules. While there are a couple things to know like offsides or corner kicks, for the most part it's super simple. Players can't use their hands, they try to get the ball into the net. So unlike a lot of other sports where to get into it, feels like you have to sit down and actually study the rules and try to understand what all the terminology means. The World Cup being hosted in the US this year has given an opportunity for people to see a lot of different cultures all celebrating in the streets while they're visiting here. And it's been incredible. The amount of moments that have come out so far, even though we're only barely into the round of 32, have been amazing. While in Boston, the Scottish fans actually completely bought up all the beer and the city completely ran out. Obviously, we have the Netherlands wearing a wave of orange going through the city. There's a witch doctor coming from Ghana who, during the Ghana vs. England game, actually cursed Harry Kane, and a lot of people think that's why he missed an easy shot during the game, resulting in the score being 0-0 by the end. Of course, we have the infamous Norwegian row, which has been going around not only just the stadiums, but now going into everyday life, and a lot of other teams also getting in the action. But there's something uniquely special about every country in the world that's participating, and even some that aren't, getting together in a combination of their cultures, and it's really amazing to see. I think just watching how the fans are reacting and how they're experiencing the country that they're staying in gives a great impression about what the game means to so many people. And following the stories that not only the teams have, but also the players with some of the greatest athletes of all time, and watching the records that they're able to break, and what it means to their home country and the home city that they're able to still play and continue moving on. Still think that the 2022 World Cup final might be the greatest sporting event of all time. I'll give an example as to why I think that the 2022 World Cup final specifically was the greatest sporting event of all time. And I know that sounds a bit much, or from my point of view, from everything I've seen, I feel like it has a genuine case to be made. And the reason for that is specifically because of the history involved with the two teams. On one side, you have Argentina playing with Lionel Messi, and what was supposed to be his last World Cup of all time. Obviously, he's playing a 2026 World Cup. Still feel a little salty that they lied to us about that, but We won't talk about that for now. But Messi is considered the greatest, or at least one of the greatest soccer players, if not greatest athletes of all time. He had so many achievements, reaching the Golden Boot, the Ballon d'Or, breaking records for goals, and of course everyone in the world, even those who don't follow soccer, knowing about it. But the one event that he did not have was the World Cup. It was the one thing left needed for him to really flesh out his achievements. On the other side, with France, who had their rising star, the 18-year-old Kylian Mbappe, who was quickly becoming one of the greatest players of all time himself. That was the setting for this game, and why it mattered so much for everyone watching to see what would happen. It was really not only just those two teams competing against each other, but Messi versus Mbappe. And boy, was it a final. It started off in the 23rd minute with Messi getting a goal from a penalty, starting them off at 1-0. That was followed at 13 minutes up by another goal for Argentina at the 36th minute, making it 2-0. And that was pretty much it. Up until 80 minutes into the game, the score was still 2-0. Everyone thought Argentina was going to win, when Kylian Mbappe got a penalty and scored a goal, bringing it to 2-1. Followed 1 minute later at the 81st minute with him scoring a second goal, tying up the game. Now it was 2-2 at 81 minutes in a game that everyone thought was over. Full time finished, still tied 2-2, and they went into extra time, where 108 minutes into the game, Messi scored his second goal, bringing up the score to 3-2. Only for 10 minutes later, Mbappe to finish off a hat trick with a penalty, tying up the game once again at 3-3, where full time would end. And that brought it into penalties, which are already so exciting. But having Messi versus Mbappe in a penalty shootout for the World Cup final was an absolute magical moment, with eventually, of course, Argentina taking it 4-2, giving Messi his first World Cup trophy. And now in 2026, we have a lot of those returning players. Like I mentioned, Messi is back, which I'm still salty. I don't know why they had to lie to us saying that the 2022 World Cup was his final, but it is what it is. Now he's back 2026 for hopefully, or not hopefully, but most likely his actual last World Cup. Ronaldo's playing for what's most likely his last one with Portugal. We have Ochoa playing for 6 World Cups, and now he is still playing for Mexico as the substitute goalie, although he's played in a couple of games. A lot of the goalies for some of the underdog teams, like the Ivory Coast, are in their 40s, and it's really exciting to see so many legendary players competing side by side with a lot of the new generation and the young talent that they bring to the game. But watching this year, I'm once again reminded of the absolute passion that the fans have in the stadium whenever someone scores, especially for those underdog teams, and just seeing how much the game matters to everyone, how the game really brings everyone together. I think is truly why it is such a special moment every 4 years when the whole world is able to connect and really focus on something for once that is not just doom and gloom that is always in the news, talking about how horrible everything is. It's nice to just have something to focus on that is a more friendly competition. But that's all I want to talk about today. My team Japan is out. Guess I'm rooting for the US now. When they finally get out, thinking France is going to take it. Let me know who you think. My bracket's looking pretty good. I don't think Spain and Portugal is going to do that well, I'm going to be honest. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.